So welcome to Poetry Street. My name is Chip Williford, and we're so happy to have you here. First, we'd like to thank Jenny Bloom at the Riverhead Public Library and Claire Lunsberg, who's helping us at home on Zoom, Maggie Bloomfield, Susan Dingle, and Robbie Brown, who are our founders. New York has been a gathering and trading place for many Indigenous people. We acknowledge that we are guests on this land. Poetry Street and our work in the area of Long Island is situated on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape, who are the original caretakers, also the Canarsie, the Shinnecock, the Montaukett, the Reckonwalk, the Mansay, and the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge and respect the many Indigenous people who live on this land and continue to make ongoing contributions. Now, I wear a mask. Under my mask is a smile. under the smile is my smile masking. So I'm going to remove my mask now. I'm double vaccinated, and I hope you will be soon also, if you're not. And now I would like to bring to the stage Maggie Bloomfield.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Along with that beautiful land welcome, can we take just a few seconds and focus on the people of the Ukraine and Zelensky? I want to welcome everybody who's here in person, and our loyal followers on Zoom. Welcome to Poetry Street, the room without a roof, where every voice is heard. My name is Maggie Bloomfield, and I'm hosting today with Chip Williford and with the assistance of Claire Lundberg, Mike Gary, and Jenny and Jim from the library. I want to thank you so much for joining us in our brand new venue here at the Riverhead Library. I want to thank again Jenny Bloom for inviting us, me and Chip. We're co-hosts to make this our new venue, a hybrid venue on Zoom and in person. Just a tiny bit about the history of Poetry Street. It started, I believe, 9 years ago. It's part of a Jumpstart project sponsored by East End Arts. Susan recognized the need for poetry in Riverhead to celebrate poetry, diversity, and inclusion. When Bobby Brown, African-American poet and community leader extraordinaire, came aboard, the magic happened. With a bunch of us in tow and through the hospitality of Nancy Curris at the Blue Duck Bakery in Riverhead, we met monthly for 7 years. The Blue Duck closed, COVID hit, and thanks to the digital and video skills of Chip Williford and my enthusiasm, we have continued on Zoom for the last 2.5 years. And now we're here, and we're thrilled to be able to be with you today. We're going to have terrific features followed by an open mic. I ask you not for polite applause. I ask you for shrieking and yelling and stamping and screaming. And same thing if you're on Zoom. Take off that mute button and make some noise for everybody. If you do plan to read at the open mic, please sign up on the sheet provided and share one not very long poem, please. We're a bit time limited because the library closes promptly at 5 o'clock. And if we're not out of here, we get locked in here for the weekend. Okay? And they're not kidding. So at 4:30, some sort of fair warning sounds. If somebody is reading and that noise happens, please stop and start your poem over again. Next month, I'm pleased to announce that we are having a time change. It's going to be from 2 to 4 instead of 3 to 5, which will solve the library closing issue. We also request that when you read, you speak up. Today is still a bit of a hybrid experiment, and we're counting on everybody to help us get the kinks out. And now to our wonderful features. Our first feature today is Bruce Johnson. Bruce is a lifelong Long Island resident, currently living with his wife, Isabella, in Northport. He has published a collection of poetry entitled Borderlands and Dreams, which contains work written over the past 30 years and includes themes of our interaction with nature, homelessness, child neglect, memory, and enjoying corn muffins at the diner. Please help me welcome Bruce Johnson.
Everyone, hopefully you can see me over this. I want to thank Chip and Maggie and also Susan and Michelle for putting all this together, for sharing this podium, and also all of the open micers who come and share their work. My first poem, and I'll be reading mostly from the book that was mentioned, Borderlands and Dreams. Yep, there it is. First poem is called Emily's Waltz. It is a hot afternoon at the fair, and the rows of booths are filled with jewelry and pottery and artfully labeled bottles of maple syrup that bubble in the sun. I find shade by a stage where a small band plays folk songs. Emily's waltz floats softly from the strings of an old mandolin and lifts me from this humid crowd to a 19th century barnyard on a cool September evening where neighbors gather to sing and dance. The fiddler plays his new song, yet unnamed, and Emily is dancing, barefoot, bright eyes flashing, brown curls bouncing, farm girl body bounding across the pine wood floor. She stole the music that night, kidnapped all the young men. The melody became forever hers, the fancied memory mine. All right, so the second one is, and hopefully I won't end up pressing any buttons on the computer. The second one is called News of the Child. That would be unfortunate, right, Chip?
That would.
News of the Child. Catherine, he pleaded into a horde of holiday shoppers. Catherine, Catherine, he cried as he spun around searching with wild eyes. He ran a few steps, stopped again. Catherine, his voice faded as he vanished in the swirl of the crowd, followed by a walkie-talkie security guard. Seconds became precious as we bystanders waited, as shoppers rushed by, their little packages appearing and disappearing. I peered into that stampede for the tumbling of that child, paralyzed by the impossible impulse to seal off the dozen mall exits all at once. Catherine's daddy, a store clerk, called out while walking by us briskly. She was smiling, almost singing as she searched for him, to bring the good news to him, bringing good news to all who had stopped and hoped. All right, so I'm going to move on to a couple of poems that were written from my experience working for 7 years in a homeless shelter. The first one is pretty short. It's called Welcome to the Shelter. I said hello to Chris and bent down to shake his hand, but he ran backwards, not taking his eyes off me, until he bumped into a chair and fell. His mom picked him up and stroked his hair. "He won't hurt you," she told him. "He's here to protect you. He's a good man," she said. "He's not like Daddy." And I have a lot of poems from the homeless shelter, but I'm only going to read one more. And this one's a little cheerier. It's called How to Eat a Bowl of Cheerios. Learned at the shelter. First, allow the milk and oats to soak in the bowl for 6 to 8 minutes while you fidget and annoy your mother. Then cram as much of the mush into your mouth as you can. A spoon is okay, but it's better to use your fingers. Chew with your mouth open so the milky pulp flows over your lower lip with each pump of your jaw. Do not lean over the table. Let the streams fall to your chest and onto the clean shirt Mom gave you for school today. Do not let her see the milky mess. Go to school that way. Give the teacher a good impression of your mom. When you get home, stuff the shirt into the drawer with your clean clothes for discovery later. All right. I'm switching back and forth in this little book here, so that's why there's a little pause. This is called My Favorite Diner. I guess we all have one, or at least we did at one time before diners started closing. There's still some around though, and this poem is about that. This poem was written probably in about 1991. The manager is watching. He wants these booths filled with well-dressed big spenders. His goal is $20 per head per hour. And here we sit in our thrift store threads, deep into the after movie rush, drinking bottomless cups of coffee, talking politics and poetry, laughing too loud. We ask the waiter for more milk. The pitcher arrives with an onion floating in it and ketchup smeared on the side. Phil and Steve develop a conspiracy theory concerning the milk, and I don't doubt them, but I defend this place for the corn muffins. Toasted on the grill with butter and jam, and I quietly munch, ignoring the waiter's frown, only slightly concerned that when the money for the bill is collected, there will not be enough for a tip. And I sip my coffee blind to the side glances of other patrons, and I think, well, that muffin hit the spot. So speaking of coffee, the next poem is called What Do You Like in Your Coffee? You might not like what I found. I poured last night's leftover coffee into my mug, zapped it in the microwave, and took it along for the ride to work, sipping as I drove. While merging onto the parkway, I took a gulp. It tasted funny, furry. Something in me said, spit, just spit it out, onto the windshield, a big, dead, furry spider. Boiled to a limp mass, it stuck to the glass in a clump. I studied it as I swerved into the middle lane, shuddering with the thought of that thing and the inside of my mouth. Wouldn't we all? This poem is called After the Game. The Stadium, 1995, a late July night in the Bronx. Liz was 8 and Billy 14. And I can't remember who was playing for the Yankees except that Paul O'Neill was Billy's favorite. I think the Rangers were in town, but I can't tell you who won. Just that Billy and Liz and I cheered through extra innings from the nosebleed seats above home plate under stadium lights as bright as day. Round about 11:30, we heard the first strains of New York, New York, as the 40,000 filed out. We sat and watched the place empty, the black night beyond those lights and the vacancy of the ball field made the grass an impossible green and the baselines a soft, even brown. For a few moments, this small world was ours, and only ours. For a few moments, there was nowhere else to be. Then Sinatra finished his song and security waved us down from our seats and toward the exit. We made our way to the empty parking lot, where I realized that it was unwise to be walking the empty Bronx streets at midnight. We made it to the car and drove across the Triborough to what seemed like safety on Long Island. Billy still had 12 years, good and bad, and we went to the game many times more. And we often chose to sit and wait for the empty silence at the end of that song, the impossible green silence, the soft brown stillness, for the foolish feeling of permanence and ownership of a time and place that can only be borrowed. And after each game, we walked the darkened streets and fought the traffic to the far side of the bridge. And I always delivered the kids safely to their home. Then Billy's time was up. And going to the game didn't make sense anymore. And anyway, security had started chasing us out of our seats long before that song ended. This is called Crab Meadow. It's my newest poem. So therefore, it's not from this book. Crab Meadow. This sunrise is more silent than fog on a windless marshland. Even the seagulls are speechless as they veer through the twilight. To the east, darks and lights lie in layers. There is a red there that can only appear through the blue-gray storm clouds, holding fast to the horizon. The smell of salt air vanishes with the closing of the eyes. Quiet is amplified, color is purified to emptiness. One cannot hear this silence nor see this glow with an unquiet mind. To remember, stop listening, stop seeing. This is called The American Dream. Sit back, because this is the longest poem in the book. Sometimes when I am only a character in childhood memory, I rest the mind's eye on the old house or the elm trees on the walk to school or the family around the table and let myself think that what is possible is as boundless as a 9-year-old's dreams, and allow myself to believe, as taught, that history is a story of progress, despite the evidence. Amid these restless parkways, my ambitions rose and fell to the beat of rock and roll radio and television theme music, just as surely as my father's had in the years before the Depression, before his journey across the Channel, through the farmlands of France and into those dark camps. And then what dreams? He returned to his small town, then a terminus for white flight, a blight born of unpurged sin, and there potato farms became 3-bedroom hopes in the same steady way that prairies became homesteads and homesteads subdivisions. Destiny manifest in strip malls and parking lots. Horace Greeley advised, go west. He might have added, and treat your neighbors with respect, a thought surely not in the minds of those who from railcar windows shot buffalo by the thousands for sport, or more likely to starve to extinction the native peoples of the plains. Big game hunting and genocide, all for the price of a train ride. And all for the purpose of claiming the wide, wild land for whiteness. Sometimes when I consider what we are willing to do to satisfy our dreams, I pray for insomnia. Often I daydream of a post-adolescent America, one no longer obsessed with boundless growth and wealth, one possessed of reverence, gratitude, stewardship, of desire for justice despite the cost. And I wonder what will wake us. And the last one I'll read for you today is called Comset Park. And that's in Lloyd Neck. As she walks along the edge of the meadow, knotty tree limbs paint brown abstractions on a blue sky, and branch tips sing spirituals in a key and meter chosen by the wind. Friends travel the wide earth, yet for her, it's enough to walk this fragment she has found just a few miles from home, wearing a deeper, more familiar path with each pass. She is in love with every season. When April's deep mud steals the sneaker from her foot, when July's green grows so lush, one can climb into a cave of foliage and lose the sky. When the fading colors of November and a faint smell of decay remind her even now of schoolwork undone. When the snapping of March tree limbs report lonely death, only days before new birth. She studies the paths and borders, has climbed each boulder on shore, rubbed every sea-smooth gouge, knows the potholes of the sagging roads and the colors of the grasses. She memorizes fables told by saltwater breezes as they whisper in the reeds, stories she would preserve for her children and theirs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
That was amazing.
Okay, and the crowd is gathering. Let's see.
Go ahead.
Okay, our next feature is somebody who's very dear to me. I've told her this a couple of times because she saved me from abandoning poetry altogether. And I won't go into the details, but I love Michelle Whittaker. She is a West Indian American poet who grew up on Long Island. She's the author of Surge, which was awarded a finalist medal for the Next Generation Indie Book Awards. She has been published in the New York Times Magazine, New Yorker, Shenandoah, Upstreet, Pank Magazine, and other publications. She has received Pushcart Special Mention, Cave Canem Fellowship, and New York Foundation of Arts Fellowship in Poetry. Currently, she is the poetry editor at the Southampton Review. Please help me give a gigundo welcome to Michelle Whittaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michelle Whittaker.
Hi. It's nice to see familiar faces even in Zoom and out here. So I'm going to read 5 poems. And thank you so much, Maggie, and everybody who put this together. I know we've been trying to get together for a while, but I think this is my first in person, so this is great. First poem is called Partial Life Review, after Marie Howe's part of Eve's discussion. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Partial Life Review. It was like the moment when a rare pine wobbler flew over the highway lane just before entering those shelf clouds in the near distance. Just before you saw the wall of rain leaving inches of itself further down the road before hydroplanking disturbances. For a moment, you felt this deluge as a divine sanction or sweet suspicion, like how the over-arousal of when a hatchback's tires and brakes disagree as a steering committee. Or very much like when you kept checking for the headlights in your rearview mirror, when for a moment you're offered a clarity about why your partner paints bamboo shoots over and over, and why you don't have the heart to answer when asked again if this time looks like the real thing, when no, the nature of it looks to me like cancer. A field guide for a positive mental attitude in no particular order. Believe that you will spell rhododendron road correctly on the third try. When you drive past your childhood home, don't overanalyze any superficial improvements as a setback. Although the ignition coils in your car are decades old, accelerate up the dirt path with swerve and intention. Sometimes a field of delphiniums is worth the wear and tear. When recalling how your lover relaxed into a coffin as if it were a hammock, reread his last letters from Kathmandu. Learn to respect that latent silence rarely means rest. When the lone egret returns to the capillary waves of the mill pond, replay the opening scene of your screenplay you will never write. At every red light, check the smear of your mascara in the rearview mirror. When you cannot loosen the lug nuts, recite that Wallace Stevens poem about they who rise from the misty cliffs of Moher, or try AAA again. If you must fold your anxiety into sleep, then it's okay to give up everything for the moment. When your dead lover taps the middle of your forehead, remember the image of two Buddhist monks and two barnacle geese diverging on a dissected path. Stare through slots at what's no longer coupling with dusk. When mosquitoes enter as misquotes at stage right, it's time to walk for help. Follow the panicles of creeping flocks and the yellow shine under the power lines. Give gratitude. Give gratitude to the distillation of a hinterland that won't let go of its rain. But when the water gathers on the road and the disarray of debris rakes at your ankles, blame infrastructure, not nature. Repeat, I can bear this, even when you can only think of how you cannot birth children. Repeat, I cannot bear children, until you can no longer discern pain. Listen to anything Rachmaninoff or Tori Amos for stressing the deep ends of strings, of trumpeters, of timpanists, glorifiers, and strangers in your headphones. Memorize the tonal distinctions between the untimely rumblings of hunger and instinct. Patience holds reasonable promise in the clench of its jawline. And reproductive death is rarely graceful, despite its grace, just like a single cell thunderstorm. And let your pain, let your neck pain speak. This worldly body is full of silent alarms. Thank you. Some people wanted to know, I mean, maybe you don't really want to know how I met my partner, my husband. at first sight. There he is. There he is, Miss America, singing from a twice written love letter before throwing it away, before streaming it on Instagram, in his open tartan flannel, exposing his pectoral and pretty and quarter tonal Sprechstimme against his guitar. He elegizes over his time as a mountain ranger, remembering those unyielding pine beetles who overate wholly from the bark. Either by appetite or aperture for death, devastation opened his breathing, like an overpacked canvas entering the Harlem streets for the very first time. And for the second, he released eulogies and lyrics, quizzing inside the id, almost like quicksand over a longing body, weary through the jungle memory of his all-AmeriCorps backbone. Post-torn, power trauma, sub-survivor, warmongering no more, he disrupted his own heart valves. Even when he unlatches my own, or unlatched my own, like a window airing out the fog cage, beyond those grasses, we hear Whitman-esque tongues. He asked me to meet him on an island. And I said, yes. And then he recites for us how familiar your scent in this garden we are among. I and thou and we, let us meet again after church. We can be each other's blank start, a collection of stairs like two pennies found stained from their voyages. We can each other shine, turn in our pens, grab brooms, sweep the chimney, square joints, water the flowers' dark bark. We can make up stories if we want, swapping tissue and saliva until the corners of our mouths burn. Let us cough up smoke and liver. Let us cough up myrrh and Frankenstein. Let us actually go back to our crash and earn, be a shadow puppet on the wall, dear peahen tearing at that butterfly. We can sing and sigh a bearded prize. We can chant a small futiri, a profutiri. We can speak monologues, drama, poems, dialogues, anything you want to contest or confess. And the last poem is called Directions for Singing. And those of you who are religious, it is after John Wesley, but I don't mean any disrespect. Directions for Singing. Sing whatever makes you think we enjoyed being led to a flood zone. Sigh if you must, for a conscience does not drown quickly in a bird fight. Although it might take forever to untether, think of yourself risen from a dredging machine. Lift others as if you are not ashamed of being hurt. Have an eye out for every beekeeper. Do not be afraid of modesty, nor be afraid to bawl in front of the congregation. And if it's a crossroad for you, walk this false alley like it's a blessing, or amplify your guttural tones. And when you see yourself drenched in this public bathroom mirror, strive your voice with the faucet's hammer and hum with offhandedness, or until you drive the refractory storm clouds out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's hear it again for the wonderful Before I introduce our last speaker. feature, I want to get in front of the microphone, I fear. I want to give a shout out to Claire Lundberg, who is at home running the Zoom with Chip. My God. I don't even get how people do that, but God bless them. So what a beautiful afternoon of poetry. I'm so moved and so happy that you are all here and that all the Zoom people are here. Our next feature is the founder of Poetry Street. Susan Dingle is poet, preacher, social worker, and community organizer. She currently resides in the Pacific Northwest until we can talk her into moving back here. 2 chapbooks were published in 2020, which she and I will both attest was not a great year to publish a chapbook, but they're beautiful. Parting Gifts, Local Gems Press, and In Pilgrim Drag, Finishing Line Press. In 2014, she created this venue, Poetry Street, at the Blue Duck Bakery with Bobby, who is also here today. And she welcomed Chip and myself as co-hosts and artistic directors when she took off for the West. She's a student in the MFA program at Pacific University and leads a therapeutic writing workshop at East End Hospice. Hey, help me welcome Susan Dingle.
Oh my God. I feel like an institution. I would like to thank you, Maggie and Chip and Michelle. It was wonderful to hear you, and Bruce, thank you. This is like such a special experience to be live. I wanted to begin by acknowledging a local community event called the Pomona Transition, a brand new anthology that Kathleen Donnelly, who's on Zoom, shepherded into existence. And I would like to read one poem of mine from this anthology, and then is a sort of a preview to the open mic. I'd like to read a poem by Gladys Henderson, who is recently recovering from hospitalization. So she's not going to be reading at the open today, but she said I could read her poem, which is really nice. So I'll begin with her poem. This is A Winter Occupation by Gladys Henderson. Lawn men come early to mow the grass. They work quickly, mowing from one home to another, breaths smoldering in cold autumn air. All summer they have come, lining their pockets with our money, mowing the lawns of the lazy, the busy, and the frail. Soon daylight will shorten, and the mowers will silence their machines. Dried heads of thistle plants, weeds left to grow wild, are finally of no rebuke. You, my friend, who have been my legs this year, have harvested the last of the tomatoes. They ripen, wrapped in newspapers with messages about war. Now the work of winter is to begin, its harsh talons stunning the prospect of summer. I will sit by the window in my winter robe, listening to the snowplows as they scrape their way down Brown's Road. My thoughts of you, turning the first measures of earth, tomatoes and cucumbers in full flower, their white and yellow blossoms shaking on the tender gathers of mid-June. Gladys Henderson. We love you, Gladys. We love you, Gladys.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Um,
much.
Now, if I can find my poem in here. This book is really gorgeous and you can get totally lost in it, which I'm doing right now. Okay. I'm
you,
so
Susan,
happy that we've
very
all
much.
embraced this new old tradition of acknowledging the land that we are on. And I would like to read this poem called Maine Bayview on Pomonic, which is a land acknowledgement in Southold Town. Maine Bayview swerves through woods and history denied, native peoples slaughtered on land now named Bayview, where white people command the water views, built homes on confiscated real estate, bloodshed to claim it, never acknowledged by those now driving side roads off Maine Bayview, complicated roads through the wailing woods, where natives had no names and relinquish everything. And I am one whose ancestors got away with it, driving through this evening, an outsider with no destination, listening as if every battle between settlers and natives still might resonate, a twinge of shame through the silence, echoes of massacres absorbed in the resin of trees, the arc of branches sheltering the sky, where white people like me still command the narrative, why history favors our claim. Still, I confess before this sunset, no longer silent on Pomonic. I am very grateful for the communities that I have become part of out here. And well, very grateful. I wanted to read some poems from these poor little chapbooks that got published in a time when no one was buying or going or reading or having anything to do with anything. So I'm going to read a few. They don't get out much. So I'm going to continue on this theme of outing myself. This is called Golden Ticket. Check this privilege I did nothing to deserve or earn and am free to deny, like it's all just razzle dazzle, good business sense, coincidence that made my daddy so rich, my mama so good looking, and me so rebellious in my private school uniform. A trophy girl at the yacht club in Annapolis, where we sip martinis and Manhattans at sunset, survey the harbor dappled with sailboats, served by dark-skinned waiters in white uniforms. I am ungrateful and drink too much with no idea how much I will have to lose before I exchange the golden ticket for the hallelujah ride. I'm loving the hallelujah ride, I gotta tell you. I've already lost complete track of time, not good. I would like to read, this is for our friends who don't agree with us. This is called Prophecy. He stalks you like a jaguar, the Lord of the underworld, Native Americans call he who kills with one leap. But you don't recognize a jaguar when you see one. You imagine he will deliver you with razzle dazzle at rallies, tweeting coded messages. I see how he grooms you, lures you with rumors and innuendo, pretending to be your friend, but you do not know how patient evil can be. One day he will mount you, an insect pinned on velvet, a butterfly glittering with regret, yearning for chloroform, form, and you won't report it. But I am the witness, once victim, now accuser. I speak in your name. I seriously wish I had time to myself. I'm going to read one more poem from In Pilgrim Drag, and this is for this is for all those girls out there who may not be on the screen at the moment, but maybe they'll catch us later on Zoom. This is called How a Girl Becomes a Warrior. The week after the first woman is nominated to be president of the United States, 94 years after women won the right to vote, I remember women with bound feet, their ideal a geisha, prancing on tiptoe, toes broken, crushed into claws from the age of 5 when the binding begins, enveloped in embroidery. My mother strides to the office in stilettos, a career that ends in marriage and misshapen feet, a husband deciding she should stay home. When I was 10, I want to argue in court like Perry Mason on TV, but girls can't be lawyers. Outside, I practice pitching and fielding, but girls can't play the majors. Girls can be teachers, nurses, secretaries, mothers, movie stars, or strippers. Girls must be pretty and thin. Some girls don't buy in. The week after the first woman is nominated to be president, 94 years after women won the right to vote, I see you on screen, a girl of 16 wearing a yellow lace dress and sparkly blue flats. You say your name is Memory Banda and you are from Malawi. You say you are not getting married until you want to. You tell about the camp in Malawi where young girls are forced into sexual cleansing to rid them of childhood dust, those motes of fantasy and curiosity about the world that swirl in sunlight toward a future exterminated in a ceremony called Kusasa Fumbi, like ethnic cleansing, only with sex instead of machetes, leaving many girls impregnated or infected, and all girls abandoned and shamed. You, Memory, refuse to go to the camp, though women in your village say you are stupid to want to go to school, have a career. You say, why can't I change something? You say, I will be a warrior. Gather the girls in your village, help them remember how to read, and together you text the traditional leaders incessantly to pass a new law in the Parliament of Malawi, raising the age of marriage to 18. Warriors always have more to do. Today you smile, remind grown-ups we must enforce the law. I am old, Memory, but when I hear you say, we are not just women, we are not just girls, we are extraordinary, I believe you. The week after the first woman is nominated to be president, 94 years after women won the right to vote. I am very grateful to be here, and I'm having an out-of-body experience. And so can I read one more poem? Do I have one? Okay, I believe so. Okay, so this is a new poem, and I am going to read it off of this phone, if I can figure out how to find it. Okay, all right. I haven't got a prayer. Okay. This is called Confession. Good Friday in Central Park, after hearing Stainer's crucifixion at Brick Church, an epitaph is God so loved the world. John 3:16. On Good Friday, after hearing Stainer's crucifixion at Brick Church, as we did when our husbands were alive, I visit my friend near Central Park. Her caregiver, a woman from Trinidad with the same name as me, braids twisted like a crown around her head, brings us a glass of water. She too prays for my friend, who cannot remember what month she was born in. When exactly does Easter begin? At 95th Street, under a footbridge, a saxophone asserts "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." As sneakers thud cobblestones, a man in a ball cap talks to a small dog, and young women run by. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why? Yes, if I were a saxophone, that's what I'd play. Through the underpass, I would echo like a forgotten day. On the other side of hearing the crucifixion, I parade along the avenue, Fifth Avenue, as clouds of apple blossoms lift sparrows' cries, and a breeze spatters petals along the crisscross bricks. What do the sparrows require of me? An old man in a wheelchair asks for $1.80. But I have 5 to give, a blessing for one whose name is Ray. Passing between the red buds, skateboards, bicycles, runners, an Easter parade, a tide of sparrows rises above this park built a century ago over the bones and dwelling places of freed slaves, indigenous people, immigrants, their homes bulldozed into loam, where now apples blossom, and some fool on a park bench smokes a bright cigar. Yet, how glorious to be alive here, hear drums near the reflecting pond, see a drone above, a flood of sparrows chatters and cries, families on holiday, children climb into a statue's lap, Alice in Wonderland. A skyline of buildings beyond this walkway will suffice as a glimpse of paradise. Not the exact coordinates, but close enough. If you follow where the path is going, you can get there.
Let's thank Susan Dingle for her beautiful work. Teachers for a wonderful afternoon of poetry. The features will be back for an encore. We're just about to start the open mic.
We're going to go on our Zoom for the first person on the open mic. And I see that Chris Javier, he's walking and or somewhere outside, and we want to get to him first, and then we're going to get to Claire to tell us who else we have on the open mic via Zoom. Chris Javier.
Okay. A weary train conductor swaggered slowly from the first railroad car and across the platform with his head down in his black sport shades, fully uniform under his black puffer coat, black tote bag on his left hand, black backpack on his back, cigarette in between his right index and middle finger as he took the last drag. That one passive puff formed a miniature cloud until that madman walked towards it. The cloud split in two and ran across both cheekbones as he proceeded to drop the cigarette before he enters the Hempstead train station. I look down at the remains, and for the 1000th time in my whole existence, I've witnessed death. The only thing alive was the unburned tobacco, but the butt has been squashed on the concrete, the filter and paper buried in ancient dirt, tobacco, ashes smeared away. He must have came to punch out after a long night of collecting tickets from drunks in their Rangers and Met jerseys. Were there any Knicks fans yet? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And once again, I do want to thank Michelle and Susan and Bruce for their wonderful readings. The truth is very powerful and it was told with a lot of passion. We appreciate that. I'm gonna go to Claire now. Claire, who else do you have on our Zoom
Thank you.
call that's waiting to read?
Okay, if Herb comes back, we'll put him in, but right now, the next person on my list
I'm Herb.
is, okay, Herb,
Hello,
Awesome.
I'm here. You see
there
me?
you are. Go ahead, Herb.
Oh, okay. April 2020. Oh, sorry. That's a bad year. I mean, the good year. April 2022. Much better year. In fact, that's this poem. The blaring harbingers of spring arrive, a greatly glowing yellow clarion call. Forsythia and daffodils revive, glow loudly, even in a hard rainfall. Now multitudes of birds begin to sing. A black and orange oriole joins tunes with sweeping starlings. Sunlight sparks each wing, while careful robins guard their small blue moons. I'm 68. Spring doesn't care. It will, with flourishing flowers, songs, and warmer days, make me forget my age. My walk uphill will level off and pass more pleasant ways. Thank you.
That was awesome. Claire, could you admit Dr. Short in and announce our next speaker?
Okay, Dr. Short is coming in as we speak, and our next speaker will be J.R. Turek.
All right.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Michelle. So today would have been my parents' 62nd wedding anniversary. So this is for them. And I don't think I've ever read this. So baggage. How did I get here now, today? How did I accumulate all this baggage? Mismatched luggage, owner's name firmly in place. I credit my parents with so many lessons taught, lessons ignored, advice unheeded, roads where I was lost. My mother's carry-on bag is large, bulky, covered with bright purple flowers, my favorite color, not hers. She bequeaths it to me, her living legacy, her love-hate relationship with her mother, grandmother, winged archangel, protector, brothers and sisters too old to play with her, a father who died before her first birthday. Loneliness covers the bottom of the bag. Anger, regrets, joy, and pain fill it to the brim. My father's bag is large, deep, and quite empty, black with white stripes, no sibling rivalries, a doted on spoiled boy of very young parents themselves, who baggage carried them from parents from opposing countries to the land of milk and honey. I try to have my father's bag. It is too heavy. I'm curious that it is not empty as I'd thought. I wonder what surprises lurk beyond the gold zipper of such a flat bag. I do not want to see my brother's bag. Our time to explore has not yet come. I can wait. I see mismatched luggage lined up on the pathway of my life. I fight myself over possession. I want my own bags. Strong, clear, plastic, only half filled with my favorite ideals. I want to save the empty half for the roads I have yet to travel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy, for that. Now we're going to go live at the Riverhead, New York Library. We're going to start with Bubby Brown, one of our founders.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. First of all, I think that we should thank Chip and Maggie for this constant parade of excellent poets that they bring every month. It seems like it's a never-ending parade of features that just warm my heart. I have two poems, and I'm sure I can do them both in less than 3 minutes. Neither one of mine. One was written by a friend of mine's husband. His widow wants me to write this poem, and none of his poems have titles. They just write. He just writes. A boy with a sling slayed him for his king. Two are one, and the heavenly thing. It is a common to give rings. A thief died by his side, and even he was not denied. My friends, I say to you, as that thief, he loves you too. This one is written by a friend of mine who was a retired teacher from the Riverhead school system, and I didn't know she even wrote, but and it's about her favorite time of the year, which is springtime, and it's titled Her Floral Entrance by Gina Florentino James. Peering around her verdant curtain, she is ready to make her appearance. It's been a year, it's time. She's ready to make her debut again. She has no choice. The show must go on, ad infinitum. Spring stage is set. Out she steps blossoming. She's played this part before, performed it, oh, so beautifully, magically. Nothing is held back. She blossoms so proudly. Spring is here, and so is she. Ta-da! It's the part she was born to play.
Bubby. Next, we have Bill Batcher. Such a pleasure to see you, Bill. Yes, Bill Batcher.
I'm going to try not to destroy the video like I did last time. This is entitled A Parody for Today, so I have to apologize ahead of time, because anytime you have a parody, it might ruin the song for forever and ever. I can't listen to Bizet's Toreador without thinking about cuspidors and spitting it off.
Excuse me, technical issue. I don't know what just happened. You guys all saw
See,
it.
I destroyed the
Yeah,
video
Bill,
again.
Bill has been cited several times
Stay
for
close,
having
Chip.
problems. And we may, okay, there you go, Bill.
All right, I'm not going to touch it at all.
Sure you're not.
A parody for today. This land is my land. You may think it's your land, but that's a lie, man. It's really my land. It's not a mystery. Just look at history. This land was made for me and mine. Yes, when we sing that, we think of Putin, but he's not the only one who goes nation looting. Sing it again, but think of the West Bank. That land was made for me and mine. Or else think pilgrims on the Mayflower. We felt God gave us this land to devour. We wiped out nations from sea to sea. My land was made for mine and me. From California to the Texas highland was really Mexico, but now it's my land. We say it's proper. We say it's fine, 'cause this land was made for me and mine. It's not a mystery. Throughout world history, a greedy nation chooses invasion so they can sing songs that glorify wrongs, like this land was made for mine and me. Thank you.
Ooh, brilliant, brilliant.
Right. And next up to sing, not sing. Next up, we have Kelly Powell.
Maggie and Susan and Bruce. This poem's very uplifting. It's about the apocalypse. All right, so called Grapes and the Relief of the Apocalypse. It's after a Beth Giacomo glass sculpture. She's from the Patchogue Arts Council. I stalked her webpage. After Abstract World #2. This is not an evangelical, but early Christians had a problem when the end of the world did not come. They didn't want it to come. They just kept saying it. And so people finally gave up and said, okay, it's coming. But there are these mouths to feed and fishes to turn into loaves and rheumatism and laundry and always more and more and more laundry to fold and wash and fold and wash and fold. And I'm buffering. To wash and fold and wash and fold and wash and fold. And they moved our favorite rock where the women used to gather together in community to wash our clothes and gossip and talk about the end of the world and everyone's comings and goings, and perhaps talk a little treason among the linens, the fine and not so fine, mixed together into one dystopian heartache that would lead to another and another. So, okay, the world will be ending soon. Until then, take off those filthy socks so we can wash them at our new spot downriver. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly was one of our features a month ago. Next, we have Nina Yabel. Nina Yabel is featured on the film Poetry Street on the Road, the film in episode #3. Ladies and gentlemen, Nina Yabel.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Maggie and Bubby, and Susan, and everybody else.
A little more.
It's just so much fun to be here. It always is. I'm very happy that we're here in a real place and not just in a bakery. Anyway, so this poem I wrote a long time ago, and it's really a fantasy. It's called Yes, I Have Loved the Moon. Yes, I have loved the moon, sister of night, who drifts like a child lost without light. When the moon and I were young, we rode above the mountains, slipped by the jaws of cloud wolves into the lace of angels. We sailed black lakes below the streaming stars, and galloped like two cowboys across the summer sky. We cruised through clouds of delight, dancers who thrashed about, hair on fire, fingers stretched and twisting. Beneath the firmament they sighed, gambled with the wind, and held the gold brace of sun to their thighs. The moon and I waited in her temple of hammered silver. Our breath came hard like wind in a wind tunnel, eyes glazed with pleasure, like sailors remembering the land through sea swells. At dawn, they came to us and rocked us in their arms and spilled us into the sapphire sky, content as lamps. I will always dream of their rich perfumes, full breasts round against my forehead. Yet it is the moon I love, who taught me all I know of loving. Now framed between the bamboo and the sash, a wedge of lime, she will always be a woman in her time.
Now, how beautiful was that? Hey, Nina Bell, she's something else. Okay, Claire, who do you have over there in Zoom land?
Okay, first up is Dee Dee Spungen.
All right, Dee Dee Spungen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bruce, Michelle, Susan, how wonderful. I'm so grateful there is a Zoom. This is an old poem, it's called Caution. And it's already too late. The red lights blaze, the heart bleeds. The train has barreled its way through the station. You have missed it, the last train to safety. Alone, on the tracks, fending for yourself, pinching skin to wake from a nightmare, and no one to assure you, where is mother? You remember this is your late life crisis. There is no one to nurture old bones, and the train has left its lonely mark on your ticketless soul. Subway, below streets. You think if I could get into the sun, but no, this is home now, below streets. You can almost hear the footsteps above. Once in high heels, you made those tap taps on sidewalks on your way to work, young and unsure, all the promise in your eyes as you pushed turnstiles, mounted stairs, rode elevators. The fine shops on Fifth Avenue, the lunch hours, the strap hanging tired commutes. When a paycheck was a gift and feet that hurt didn't matter. The last moments of a train whistle, and you're back in bed, a child, a dream. Tomorrow is yet to come. Tomorrow is yesterday, is gone, is never was. It is someone else's today. The flowers bloom for the young. You are dirt shoveled over a forgotten moment. Who will remember you? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask Megan if she would share next.
Thank you. It's great to be here. This is called Village at Sea. The ship carves through the seawater, spraying a symphony. Waves drumming reassurance. Our hands braided, we sit on our balcony. Exhale stress, inhale hope. Yesterday, we ambled through the oldest market in Canada. Wooden floorboards creaking under the weight of history. I bought a keychain sculpted in pewter, a replica of a community, to remind myself it takes a village for each of us to live. My fingers traverse the silhouettes of boats, houses, streets, and people etched into the flat alloy. A kaleidoscope of stories, each one a part of another. The boat moves forward, yet we can't feel that we are in motion. The cruise director announces our next port is canceled. We'll have another day in open water, a day without a destination. But there are infinite things to do, compressed into this vessel. We could get swept up in a show, eat a sumptuous meal, sip on a drink and conversation with our newfound friends. We move through space, far from everything, yet so close together. For now, we'll let the sun thaw our tired minds. Know that we're always moving, village beside us, no matter where our journey ends. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I apologize. That was Megan Dausch. We're poets with first names and last names here. And next up, we have T.A. Niles.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for all these words of wisdom in these sweet stanzas that we are reciting today. I think Michelle and Susan's friend Susan might get this one. It's called Julie. Here I sit, plump and juicy, too heavy to hold on ladened limb, and my skin has blossomed a shine and sheen of reddish green. Come on, you know you want me. Come, embrace your desire. Stretch your fingers just a tad higher. Cup me in your palm. Feel the weighty substance of me. and fondle my satin skin before you suck me down to seed. I'm just hanging here waiting for you. Yes, you, to come savor my delectables. Yes, for you to tongue my juices as my sweetness slips between your lips. Won't you let the meaty, tasty flesh of me play your palate like a favorite game? I must warn you, I have too much flavor to be contained in a single oral cavity. I'll escape the corners of your mouth and navigate to chin, demanding that you lick your fingers before a single drop of me escapes. Oh yes, I'll leave you sticky, but oh so satisfied. Once you've had me, with whom else would you deign to tango? You see, there's none so sweet as me, the one they call Julie Mango. Thank you, folks.
All right. All right, that was pretty something, man. That was pretty cool. What is going on here?
It's pretty hot.
It was like, I'm glad your face was there instead of mine. All right, so I don't know what I'm doing here, but I am going to call up the next reader, who is Craig Kite, while I figure this out.
If you click on TA and remove the pin, then you can pin the next person.
Okay, great. That's clear, everyone. She gets the big bucks. You saw me pressing, right?
I did see
It doesn't
you
like
do
me.
that.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you.
No worries.
All right.
No worries.
All right. Now, where did you meet him?
Him next time.
All right.
All right. This one's called Chaos is a Well-Oiled Machine. The voice needs to get out of its head. The commute clamors for cliff diving. The record wants to skip ahead. History repetitively demands rewriting. The word of God calls for critique. The butterfly needs to scream. The pulse lacks spontaneity. A moth shakes a dusty old pattern off its wings. The white rabbit amasses followers. The disrupted need comforting. The curriculum is a mythology. The comfortable need disrupting. The masterpiece dreams of a clean slate. The rush hour feels like a funeral procession. The marriage could use more PDA. The wheel requires reinventing. The rigmarole begs for higher RPMs. The philosopher's stone is a rolling die. The push notification introduces your new mate. Tyranny twirls atop smokestacks in the sky. Chaos is a well-oiled machine. The CDC warns of viral misinformation. Free speech is tangled in the World Wide Web. The truth is inconvenient, like glacial sublimation. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig Kite. Russ Green. Russ Green, you're going to come say something for us? Russ is also on the film Portrait Shoot on the Road. Hey, Russ Green, everyone. Let's give him a hand. He's got some great moves, too.
I always wanted to learn how to dance. I don't know how to dance, but I incorporate dance moves into my life. Hello, Zoom land. And hello, Riverhead land. It's like worlds colliding. It's like parallel universes here. Okay. my poet sister, Michelle, you're magnificent as always. And Bruce and Nina and all of you. And Maggie and Susan, you know I love you to death. And all of you on Poetry Land, I see you, Kathy, and JR and Isabella. The whole family's here. Okay, so I'm gonna shut the F up and read my poem. So I'm reading a rough draft of a poem. This is like a no-no, but I want to do it. The night before leaving. And in the round hypothesis of streaming wind, bare trees, synonymous gathering of peaks, stones in the river, valleys, shedding their unbroken desires for calm water. I look to the blue, the elusive blue, between clouds, in the brooks, in hair-flanked eyes, beginning strafing around veiled wonder of branches. And apparently the library is closing, waiting for leaves, conceiving of broken shells on edges of the sea, hundreds of miles away, comforting the moths shooed from high mountain bedrooms, and that big yellow thing in the sky looking for a chance to join us. The clarity of curry on tongues of 21st century searchers, labyrinthine journey with stadium seating for the gods and goddesses to cheer us on. The thick, soft sweater of the moment, stopping time, where the breath slows and the body slides and slides, twisting and turning, sliding, shooting out into the black river night. Unseen church bells sound around us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Maggie Bloomfield, our host. Thank you.
What a beautiful experiment this is. Oh my goodness. And really, this is not for tall, this is for tall people, really. So short here. This poem is also from that enormous book that Susan showed us before. I couldn't carry it, so I just brought it on a sheet. On the bridge, driving to an AA meeting. He drives slowly over the blue panorama, savors the autumn air. A crackly leaf drifts through his truck window, tickles his cheek as he drives. Then a seagull crashes through the passenger side open window. Fighting for control, our driver straightens the steering wheel. The bird settles on the front seat. A sturdy wing grazes his shoulder like a lover's before the sail back out to freedom. Mindful of this miracle, as unlikely as this, his second chance at life, he weeps. Thank you.
Very much, Maggie. Claire, do you have anyone over there that would like to read? I can't hear you, Claire.
I know I was muted, sorry. Let's go with Kathleen Donnelly, please. And if there's time, we'll go with Michelle
We
after.
love Kathleen. Thank you.
So, wow, Chip and Maggie, fantastic. This is a wonderful reading. And Bruce and Michelle and Susan, I dashed from a poetry thing at the Walt Whitman House to get here to hear all of you. So wonderful to make it. I have a short poem. It's called Grandmother. In a small room on the second floor with one open window, the door is closing. In an armchair in a lit corner With a book open, she glances upwards. A summer breeze turns old pages. Abruptly, she doesn't notice. The door shuts, the book drops. She closes her eyes, absorbs the sun.
Thank you very much. And thank you all on Zoom as well as here in the Riverhead Library. I want to turn this back over to Maggie Bloomfield, who will close us out. Thank you so much for joining us at Poetry Street. Check us out on poetrystreetontheroad.com. Yay!
I'm thinking. I think we might have time if our features have another short poem for an encore, and then we will be giving you all the boot.
Michelle Whittaker.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. This is called The Lovers in the Pine Barrens. Down and out, often nestled, hand in hand like two Lone Star ticks found buried above the sternum. Watch them trance, watch them yawn wilderness into a night surge. Often down and out transmit their anesthetic touch to the other, deciding not to conceive children. Watch them head trip, watch them overthink themselves as single, as strobes through the pinelands, while gorging through soil gullies of tar stumps and vanishing squawks. Watch them logging concerns, watch them split as they release cares about the rocky beach's former self, that glacial physique. When down and out exchange vows subsecretly, like the late stage of Lyme disease, watch them toggle in sickness and in needing help, watch them uproot as a bright repeat.
Thank you, Michelle. Bruce Johnson, please.
Okay, this is called Memory Quake. Your thoughts are just strolling when they stumble onto a forgotten moment, trivial or dreadful, like the night at the reunion when you told a former classmate, "I see you're expecting," and she wasn't. Or when you skidded your car full of buzzed skiing buddies to the edge of a deep ravine, sobering all, silencing all, until the bottom of that mountain road. Or when you finally remembered your blackout crimes, and you still shudder, trembling like a wet dog, as if your conscience is trying to shake it off, as if the decades between perpetration and evocation have collapsed into minutes. And they have, because memory has etched a fault in those gray convolutions, making them unstable. And memory doesn't care about time.
Thank you very much. And now our founder of Poetry Street, Susan Dingle.
Oh my gosh, what a team we are, huh? This is wonderful. Thank you all. This is a post-pandemic reconciliation for my friends with thanks to Joy Harjo. I left in the middle of the pandemic, a widow grieving in the night, the only goodbye being a drive-by parade in November in the rain, friends I love in masks, waving from slow cars, beeping their horns at me, standing outside in the rain, crying and waving, my friends who surprised me, dripping wet with a sign they painted, "Best wishes, Susan, you're only a Zoom call away." Floating upside down in a space capsule, separated from the dearest friends I ever knew, with no proper way to say, "I love you, I miss you." The most spectacular mountain landscape in the world doesn't touch my heart the way you do, the way these sandy beaches do, these scribble scrabble trees, this disappearing farmland, these hills sacred to the Shinnecock, where we are all squatters on stolen land, piecing together our repentance, speaking reconciliation. Spring in the Pacific Northwest comes too early. Blossoms unfurl before I am ready for them, not even a daffodil. My heart is in another place, home, where I am home no longer. I am your diaspora, dearest friends. Be with me in the scattering. When your cold April opens my heart again, when we say hello, I love you. It tore my heart to leave you, and I had to come back to ask you to forgive me. We will invent new seasons of reconciliation, vocabularies of staying while leaving. How can we do this? Please help me. I love you, my home where I am home no longer except in your heart, gentle friend. Forgive me, I did not know how to love and leave at the same time, except to come back and tell you so. Thank you.
Brilliant, just
Thank you
brilliant.
so much, Susan. And once again, thank you all so much for a wonderful Poetry Street. I had the honor of having my grandson visit me, and I was doing some work, and he just said something, and this is what he said. Life is like a poem that you write every day. The future is like a book, and you're the author. I mean, you write it. And the body is like a temple, and every day you place the building blocks. 12-year-old Jaden Morden Williford. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here at Poetry Street, and we hope to see you again next month at 2:00 p.m. here at the library. We're changing our time the last Saturday of every month at 2 p.m. to 4:00 p.m. And that way we can get at the library. Awesome, awesome. Well, we just want to thank everyone. Maggie, have anything to say? Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, Claire, who's handling our Zoom from our undisclosed location. We'll see you guys all next month. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you, Dr. Larry Short.